Hey guys, it's Miss Plum here, and just in case you were not in class today, you need this lesson, I'm going to go through it with you just like I did in class. So today we're going to continue on the topic of imperialism, and I should tell you the point of today is to prepare you for an essay that you have to write. If you recall from last semester, you wrote an essay about comparing Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois's ideas. Well, this is another topic we're going to do for imperialism, which is the expansion of the empire. There were pro-imperialists and anti-imperialists. So the pro-imperialists supported it, and we're going to read some documents from people that were pro-imperialists, and then anti-imperialists for people against it. We're going to look at some of those documents. Today we're looking at the pro side, and by the end of this lesson you should have one paragraph completed for your final essay. So stick with us. Before you start, you make sure that you've got your pencil or pen and then this worksheet right here. On your worksheet, it's not going to be yellow highlighted, it's going to be a light gray highlighted, but just get that worksheet out. And then you have another page stapled to the reading, and it has 10 questions on it. These are the first 3 questions, and what we're going to do is we're going to answer these together. I'll read through this, I'll help you get them. So let's first look at who our author is. Our author is a guy named Alfred T. Mahan. This document is written in 1890, and it's called The United States Looking Outwards. Before you even start, you can tell that the United States Looking Outwards, he's going to be a pro-imperialist. He wants to spread out of our current continental boundaries. He wants to get those islands. He wants to get more land looking outwards. So you know he's a pro-imperialist. And 1890, he's living at the same time as Carnegie and those fellas. So, anywho. Okay. What is Mahan's job? Alfred T. Mahan was a U.S. Navy officer and military historian who believed that national security and commercial prosperity depended on a strong naval force, and that the United States needed overseas possessions, or at least control of critical bases, to be able to project its naval power into distant areas. Mahan's writings about the importance of sea power influenced the thinking of many leaders, including Theodore Roosevelt and the German Kaiser William II. So, number 1, what is Mahan's job? We see that right off the bat here. He's a U.S. Navy officer and a military historian. I'm okay as long as you just put U.S. Navy officer for number 1. Now, you may say, okay, well, what does it matter? Why do we need to know his job? You need to know where he's coming from. And when we learned about Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois, you learned that one of them came from the north and one of them came from the south. That was something about them that affected the way that they think and the documents that they wrote. Just as this guy, Alfred T. Mahan, he is a Navy officer. That's something in his background that's going to affect what he thinks and how he writes. So if he's the Navy, I'm thinking that this document is going to be that he wants to imperialize with the use of, or for the purpose of, the Navy, which you should know is your water-based army or military branch. Okay, so number 1 is U.S. Navy officer. Number 2, why should America gain overseas possessions? Why do we need it? So I'm going to look for these keywords, overseas possessions. I see them here in line 2, and I'm going to read this section, and that the United States needed overseas possessions, or at least control of critical bases, to be able to project its naval power into distant areas. So overseas possessions Then why? To be able to project its naval power into distant areas. That is number 2. To be able to project its naval power into distant areas. Project means to send outward. So send outward our Navy into places that are far away from the U.S. That's why he thinks we should gain overseas possessions. Okay. Number 3. What would a strong naval force provide? And the key words I need to look for in the reading are strong naval force. So where do you see that? It's right here in the second line, strong naval force. Now there's a semicolon here, which means that this is the end of a thought. And so I'm going to back it up and read this part. Alfred T. Mahan was a U.S. Navy officer and military historian who believed that national security and commercial prosperity depended on a strong naval force. So what would a strong naval force provide? Would it provide a Navy officer and historian? No, it would provide national security, that's one thing, and then it would provide commercial prosperity. So those two things should go at number 3. National security and commercial prosperity. Go down here. National security, a strong naval force is going to keep our country safe from intruders, and commercial prosperity means that we can keep our trade routes and our economy booming. Prosperity means to be rich, or to have a lot of money and growth in economics. So, commercial prosperity. So, that's number 3. National security and commercial prosperity. Okay, now we have 3 new questions, 4, 5, and 6. And when I read through this, on your paper, it's highlighted in light gray. I'm only going to read the stuff that's in yellow. I'm not going to read all this extra stuff. So 4. In what 2 ways can the government influence the sea career of its people? We're going to look for the phrase sea career. And we see it right here. So I'm going to read this little paragraph. To turn to the question of the influence of government upon the sea career of its people, it is seen that the influence can work in 2 distinct but closely related ways. So the question is, in what 2 ways can government influence sea career? 2 ways. It hasn't told us the 2 ways yet, but if you keep looking down here, it says first, peace. Then down here, second, war. So that is number 4. First in peace, second for war. So peace and war go as number 4. Alright, moving on to number 5. To keep peace, what are 2 things the government can do if they gain overseas territories? So this is about peace, so we're going to be dealing with this paragraph right here, first in peace. Question, what are 2 things the government can do if they gain overseas territory? Okay, we're looking for things the government can do, actions by the government. First, in peace, the government can favor, so this is one thing, can favor the natural growth of a people's industries, or it can try to develop such industries and such seagoing bent when they do not naturally exist. So from here back, you have one idea, one thing the government can do, and that is to help industries grow on a new, wherever we go to imperialize, wherever we go to expand, we can help that country grow their industry, and we can also make money off of that. Or on the other hand, that means we're going to find our second thing after we hear on the other hand. The government may check and fetter the progress which the people left to themselves would make. In any one of these ways, the influence of the government will be felt, making or marring the sea power of the country in the matter of peaceful commerce. So, the other thing the government can do is check and fetter the progress which the people left to themselves would make. That means if we can go into a country, for example, Hawaii. Say Hawaii was, before we got there, Hawaii was trying to have a sugar industry. We could go in and check and help in the progress that the native people are already doing, and we can make it better. Okay, the other one, number 6. In terms of war, what are 2 things the government can do if they gain overseas territories? So, in terms of war, so we're going to be in this paragraph here. 2 things the government can do. The influence of the government will be felt in its most legitimate manner in maintaining an armed navy. Now, you might say, Ms. Plum, the government can maintain an armed navy. Okay, let's keep reading and see if we find better answers. And providing for rapid development in time of war by an adequate reserve of men and of ships, and by measures for drawing out that general reserve power when considering the character and pursuits of people. This part right here is divided into 2 ideas. Rapid development by a reserve of men and drawing out that reserve power. So let me back up. 2 things the government can do. They can maintain an armed navy. That's one thing. And then they can maintain a reserve of men. A reserve of power. Just as a battery reserves energy, and when you plug it in time of need, the Navy can reserve people and soldiers and weapons, and then when we need it, when we go to war, we can just put it all into gear. It's already there and ready to use. So we can maintain the armed navy, and then we can have our reserve power ready to go if we imperialize and expand. Alright, so continuing on, we have number 7. While on the sea, why is armed shipping needed? And our key words here are armed shipping. Let's see where we find those. Not there. There we go. Armed shipping. So why is it needed? Let's read after this comma and see if we can find our answer. In those distant parts of the world to which the armed shipping must follow the peaceful vessels of commerce. So why is it needed? Because it must follow the peaceful vessels of commerce. This peaceful vessels of commerce goes in number 7. And what that means is that a peaceful vessel of commerce is a peaceful ship of trade. A vessel is a ship, commerce is trade. So, for example, if we are sending a boat with products and goods to China, we have to cross the Pacific Ocean, which is very large, and we need protection as that ship goes. So if the Navy has outposts and other territories to have bases in, then they can protect the ships as they are on their trade routes. So number 7 is the armed shipping must follow the peaceful vessels of commerce. Okay, number 8. What 2 options are there for maintaining suitable naval stations? Let's look for suitable naval stations. Naval stations. Protection, naval stations. I'm going to read this right here, I suppose. Oh, hey, here's maintenance of suitable naval stations right here. So I guess we'll just read the whole thing and see what our 2 options are. Undoubtedly, under the second head of warlike preparation must come the maintenance of suitable naval stations in those distant parts of the world to which the armed shipping must follow the peaceful vessels of commerce. The protection of stations must depend either upon direct military force, as do Gibraltar and Malta, or upon a surrounding friendly population. So our 2 options for maintaining suitable naval stations are, first, direct military force, second, surrounding friendly population. So 1, 2 ideas go there in number 8. And basically what that means, say for example, Hawaii. Say we have wanted to put a naval station there. There were 2 options that we could put a naval station there and keep it up and running, which means maintaining. We could use direct military force, which is actually what we did. We overthrew their queen and we put our navy there. Or we can rely on a friendly population that lives there to say, okay, sure, come right on in, put your navy here, we'll even help out and make sure everything is clean and maintained, and the friendly population might even help work in the naval stations. So you can do direct military force, which is a more negative, powerful, forceful way, or surrounding friendly population is where the people are okay that you're there, and the people are okay that there are these foreign Navy officers there in their land. Okay, number 9. Overseas colonies would supply resting places for U.S. warships. Why is this important? And you can read all this if you'd like, but our key word here is going to be resting places, and it's right here. I'm going to read this section. I'm going to read all the yellow. When combined with decided preponderance at sea, make a scattered and extensive empire, like that of England, secure. For while it is true that an unexpected attack may cause disaster. So now we're talking about maybe getting attacked, and so let's keep going. Getting attacked by a foreign land. Having no foreign establishments, either colonial or military, the ships of war of the United States in war will be like land birds, unable to fly far from their own shores, to provide resting places for them where they can coal and repair. So a resting place, it's important. So right here, so they can coal and repair. Coal and repair is the answer to number 9. And to explain this a little further, if you've ever gone on a road trip, you have to drive a long way and tell me, what do you have to do? You can stop at a resting place to get gas. You might need to get some food. You can't make it all the way there without stopping. And just in the same way, if a ship is going from California all the way to China, they can't make it all without stopping. They need coal, which is kind of like their fuel, and maybe if their ship is busted a little bit, they need to repair it. So a resting place is kind of like a rest stop for a U.S. warship. And so if we got more territories, if we imperialized and expanded, we could have a rest stop. And that's actually what Hawaii and the Philippines' purpose was in getting our products over to China. Okay, and last but not least, we have number 10. How are we to keep the welfare of our country unaffected by an external war? So welfare is like the well-being of our country. So let's read. The question is eminently one in which the influence of the government should make itself felt, to build up for the nation a navy which, if not capable of reaching distant countries, shall at least be able to keep clear the chief approaches to its own. Meaning, we should at least be able to keep the area around our country, the ocean area around our country, clear so that we can avoid attacks. It is essential to the welfare of the whole country that the conditions of trade and commerce should remain as far as possible unaffected by an external war. We got our answer right there. How are we to keep the welfare of our country unaffected? Here it says it is essential that we keep it unaffected. In order to do this is your actual answer. In order to do this, to keep the welfare unaffected, the enemy must be kept not only out of our ports but far away from our coasts. So that is number 10. How do we keep the welfare of our country unaffected by an external war? We must keep the enemy out of not only our ports but far away from our coasts. So an example of this is, if you think of a gated community, maybe you have an apartment complex that has a gate where you have to put in a code. That gate is an added security, and it hinders an unsafe person from getting into the apartment complex before getting to your door. That's in the same way that we have a Coast Guard that patrols our coasts to make sure that pirates and maybe ships from another country, submarines from another country, aren't coming over to attack us. And if they do come, we can attack them before they get here to get them away from us. So like in World War I and World War II, it was an external war before we started. Before we joined those wars, it was an external war. But they never fought in the U.S. We never fought any of those, and that's one reason, because we had a navy out in the oceans to protect us from dangerous ships that might have been approaching, like German submarines and such.
So number 10, enemy must be kept not only out of our ports but far away from our coasts. If we have territories, we can. If we have territories in the oceans, we can have outposts there, and to keep. Maybe if a attacking ship is riding by Hawaii, we can attack them before they make it all the way to the coast of California. Okay, now what you need to do, you need to fill in this chart. It should be attached to your worksheet. What you're going to do is you're going to answer this question. This is going to be an organizer for your paragraph. Why should America expand overseas? This column is going to be the quote. Mahan is the author, Mahan's words. This column is going to be where you take that quote and you put it into your own words for your paragraph, because you know you can't copy. And then in the last one, you decide, is this reason, is that considered a bully reason or a leader reason? So the ones I highlighted, number 2, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10, those answers you already did. Any of those answers that you put for those questions would answer this question, why should America expand overseas? There's a reason in each one of those. So you just need to pick 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and write your answer. So for example, number 2, why should America gain overseas possessions? Go ahead and write your answer that you put for number 2 in this box. In Mahan's words, what did he say in the reading? And then transfer it to your words and say, is that a bully or a leader tactic or idea? And do that for 4 of them. Okay, after you have this chart filled out, you are going to write your paragraph on this page. If you look at the prompt, the directions say to use the assignments to answer the prompt. This will be one of the paragraphs towards your final essay. So your final essay is probably going to be 4 paragraphs, and this will be one of them. The prompt is, according to Alfred T. Mahan, why should Americans support imperialism? Give at least 4 key arguments and provide evidence for each. Write in full sentences and paragraph form. Sorry about that typo there. Okay, so you're going to write your paragraph, including, you would say, according to Alfred T. Mahan, Americans should support imperialism for 4 reasons. First, comma, Mahan says that blah, 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 blah. This means that blah, 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 blah. Okay? So Mahan says this, which means this. That's how you can incorporate your columns here. Okay, so do that for all 4 reasons. If you still have questions, get up and ask me or text me. And then when you're done with this, turn it in to me. And then the next assignment is going to be looking at the side of anti-imperialist. We're going to look at the arguments of someone that says we should not expand. And then you're going to write a paragraph for that one. And then you have 2 paragraphs of your essay, and you'll just need an introduction and a conclusion after that. So, and eventually you're going to have a good essay. With that said, have a wonderful weekend. This is a Friday that I'm saying this, so have a wonderful weekend, and give me this when you're done. Bye-bye.